Cutters, Degrassi, unpopular opinions. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Dunn, and welcome you to another Degrassi unpopular opinion. And this is slash hot take, and this is a big one because it's the old adage: should we feel sorry for Rick and all that? I know I did a lot of unpopular opinions to do with Rick Murray and all that, but this is a key one for me. Is that it's the dividing line? It's like should we be give sympathy to Rick, or should we just basically ignore Rick and say that, he deserved what he got? I mean, in a sense, Rick didn't deserve to die by his own gun by Sean, but, you know, Rick was probably going to die anyhow because when he brought the gun to the school, maybe he thought that he was going to get out the only way he was going to get out with the gun was if the police just arrested him, or he probably just shot himself. He could have done that. So anyway, what I'm going to do is basically point out why we should give Rick sympathy and why we should not. Somebody did a Reddit post a while ago and said that should we feel sorry for Rick? He abused Terry and was creepy with Emma, but he was bullied constantly, and I've always wondered, should we feel sorry about what had happened to him during the quiz thing? Okay, a lot of people made their comments. Someone said, no, I used to be the person to sympathize with school shooters who are getting revenge, quote unquote, for being bullied. But I don't do that anymore. He wasn't bullied because of something he couldn't help. He was bullied for being an asshole who left a friend in a coma and maybe with brain damage. It was his own fault. Spinner and Jay did some shitty stuff to him. It was all preventable, but it started with Rick. Someone said that they didn't feel sorry for Rick. Like you said, he was creepy with Emma and abused Terry. I'll never forget what he was trying to tell Terry, that she was a bad actress and shouldn't act, because he was jealous of Jimmy and Terry's relationship. Rick was a jealous guy, and he was controlling what she ate. I didn't see that, but oh, okay. And of course, the shooting. Rick was an awful person in the beginning. Nadia said, I don't feel sorry for Rick because all of his bullying could be avoided if he stayed away from school from full of people who hated him. I felt bad for his mother, though. She lost a child, and then Toby, because Toby was the only guy to genuinely care about Rick. Oh, I made a point, too. I'll get to mine, too. But anyway, someone said, I'm sure the writers wanted the audience to sympathize with Rick, but I couldn't. He ruined Terry's life. Ida Will said a lot of things. I'm going to try to paraphrase as much as I can. I don't know if I really feel sorry for Rick. I don't condone bullying, and these scenes can be hard to watch at times. But a lot of these kids were failed by the adults around them. Rick's anger and entitlement issues should have been addressed by someone long before everything boiled over. And it was called by his family, from what little we saw of them. You should have had some kind of consequences for abusing Terry. He was only harassed because of what he did to Terry. And imagine that Terry's friends were frustrated that he didn't face any major consequences. They were horrified that the friend was abused by him and her life was changed because she went away from Degrassi school. Yet he got to return to Degrassi, no consequences, and his life didn't change. They should have handled it differently, and some adults should have stepped in at this point. It's hard to attempt to justify the kids who joined in on the bullying but were friends with Terry. It was hard to figure out. There's a lot of frustration that some fans spend more time sympathizing with Rick than they spend talking about the depth of the damage he did. He abused and traumatized Terry badly. He left Jimmy with trauma and all life-altering injury. He pointed a gun at Emma and almost killed her. Sean tried to get Rick to get rid of the gun, and then Sean ended up shooting Rick. The school was traumatized by this. More should have been done for Rick. And it's fair to oppose the bullying experience, but he has to be responsible for his own actions. Someone said, I did feel sorry for Rick. He was a troubled kid. He should have gotten help and never came back to Degrassi. Corona Bride said, I don't feel bad for Rick because he was never bullied until he put Terry in the coma. Basically, people picked on him because of what he did to Terry. Someone said, Degrassi presents issues that are not always black and white. The bullying Rick endured was not okay. what Rick did to Terry was not okay, but it doesn't mean he needed to be bullied. D-Star said, I think we're supposed to feel torn when we watch the bully. At times you feel sorry for him, but then you remember what he did to Terry. It seemed that what he did to her was the reason the bullying started in the first place. He chose to come back to Degrassi too, and all that. Somebody said that he provoked Spinner in his group over and over again. And if he kept to himself, people would have given him shit, but things couldn't have escalated. It's just idiotic. Yeah, a lot of people said he was asking for trouble. Well, what I put was, I think the point is that Rick took a gun to school and vowed revenge. If he had just shook things off and not pissed off Spinner, Jay, and Alex with his spray paint revenge and not go on a mission with a gun for revenge, he would have won our sympathy, but he didn't. So we can't really give him sympathy. Yes, character screwed up and provoked Rick, either by bullying, which is basically Spinner's group, with Spinner, Jay, and Alex, spreading rumors, Paige and her clique, leaving him high and dry, Radich, or even not returning his feelings, Emma. But Rick was his own worst enemy, and he was going to shoot up the school. There were, and I screwed up, what as it says, no retaliation equals plenty of sorry feelings towards Rick. Oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense. If he didn't retaliate, there would have been a lot of feelings towards Rick. So basically, both sides of the debate. I mean, yes, Rick was bullied. Yes, he was basically hounded and all that. And yes, it's not really a good idea to poke the bear, if you will. But here's the problem. The problem is that, yeah, the students basically took it upon themselves to bully Rick, and that's not cool and all that. But here's the thing. Here's why I feel, in my opinion, why we should feel sorry for Rick, because he was being bullied and all that and harassed and all that. But there's a different side of the story, is why we shouldn't give sympathy towards Rick. In my opinion, Rick was the one who made those choices. Okay, so we all know that Rick basically harassed Terry and put her in a coma and all that. And we thought we were seeing the last of Rick after that, after he got pulled out of school. We probably thought he was expelled for his thing, but no, it wasn't. Season 4, first few episodes, okay, fair enough. Good storylines. Paige basically trying to get revenge for Dean raping her. JT being, no, sorry, not JT. That's in Mercy Street too. Marco and Alex going head to head in student elections. Alex trying to use Marco's homosexuality against him, but doesn't want to. Emma being upset that Liberty wants to date Chris after Emma broke up with Chris. Thinking, okay, just awkward stuff, and then Rick comes back. And of course, as I said many years ago, I said I didn't watch this first run, so I actually really got more into it, like in 2017, about 3 years ago. So like, that's when I started thinking maybe I could make videos. So anyway, like I'm trying to say is that basically Rick was his own worst enemy. Rick came back to Degrassi, and it seemed that basically that scene, if you look at the scene when he talks to Radich and his mother, well, not Radich's mother, but Rick's mother, it seems that, you know, everything is hunky-dory. Paige, Alex, Spitter, Jay, and Hazel are all watching very angrily. That basically it seemed that Rick was coming back to the school, no strings attached. Emma basically wants to know what's going on. They tell her about Rick and Terry and all that, and poof. And that's the chain of events. Because if Rick was not coming back, basically a lot of the events of the storyline would not have happened. Marco and Alex would not have thought about going to Radich and trying to change his mind about letting Rick back. And then we would not have known that Radich actually had his hands tied. He probably might have thought about not allowing Rick to come back for the sake of Terry. But with Terry at another school, I think Radich had no choice. He had to let Rick back in a sense. And also, he realized the message that the police did not lay any charges, and the school board hadn't done anything about it. So if the police or school board knew something about it, they definitely would have spoke to Radish, and Radish would have probably had to tell Rick that you can't study in my school, you have something against you and all that. And then, of course, we would not have seen Emma trying to destroy Rick with Paige. Basically, that Emma would not have fought the need for Fred to basically go into Paige's group to try to destroy Rick with a silent campaign so that it doesn't tick off the administration. And then we probably would not have seen Rick being harassed at school and bullied outside of school and all that. We probably would not have seen, and then, like Emma probably would have been in Paige's clique, if you will. Because remember, Emma lost Liberty and Manny as friends. So basically, she tried to fit in with Paige's clique. Of course, that didn't go over so well. Emma realized her own mistakes, I think. And Paige's clique basically didn't want anything to do with Emma. So basically, what we would not have seen Rick struggle day to day, and basically, we wouldn't even see Rick interact with Toby. And basically, Toby lost JT as a friend because JT was willing to be with Danny. That was Liberty's brother, more so than Toby. And basically, Toby would have had a terrible way to try to find friends and all that. He probably would have found Kendra, but Kendra was off the show. So, like, fuck. So, anyway, and then we would not have seen Rick basically retaliate against Spinner, Jay, and Alex and all that. We would not have seen Rick have troubles with Jimmy. We would not have seen Rick struggle to tell Radish about Jimmy, but he tells about Jimmy the wrong way and basically be forced to fend for himself, if you will. We would not have seen Rick get painted and feathered. We would not have seen Rick decide to take a gun to the school and go after Paige, but after Paige calms him down, he doesn't. And then we would not have seen Spinner and Jay basically pinpoint things on Jimmy so that Rick would not have shot Jimmy, and then Emma probably would not have had her life friend and all that. But things change because, say what you want, but I think the Rick Murray situation actually brought more character development than you think. Because, in a sense, a lot of these characters had to deal with the Rick situation, and basically they had to deal with season 4 and their character and all that. I mean, you're thinking, well, some characters did, some didn't. Well, obviously, people who didn't. Well, at the time, that I think fans didn't realize when Sean left the show in season 4 that he would come back in season 6. I don't know why he would come back. But yeah, like, yeah, but what about Rick's parents? Because they didn't have to deal with anything after the shooting. Who knows? Maybe they had to move away from Toronto. Maybe they had to face criminal charges for possession of an unlawful firearm. And of course, this didn't help Radish's character development because basically by the middle of season 4, he was gone off the show, and basically Hatzalakos came on. And this shooting actually helped Hatzalakos in her character development to be a strict principal in a sense, unless your name was Peter Stone. And then you get, Spinner. This actually helps Spinner's character. Spinner was seen as basically a 50-50 person. He seemed to be a villain, but like a goofy villain. But now Spinner thought about his consequences and basically moved on and basically wanted to make things better. He knew he had to go through a lifetime of trouble, but it took him a year to get everything back to normal. But the main point about, should we give Rick sympathy is no, because Rick chose to go back to the school. Rick chose to be put in the lion's den because he figured that Degrassi was going to just tease him for a few days, and then basically, if Rick stayed at the school without punishment, without being bullied out of school, he was going to be fine, and we were going to say, okay, well, I guess he learned his lesson. I guess he's an okay guy. But of course, Rick didn't report any of his abuse to his parents, especially his parents. And nothing to Radish, or he tried to. Like, basically, Rick was his own enemy, in a sense. He figured that they were going to stop the harassment after a few days. Unfortunately, though, Rick soon would learn that they were not going to rest until Rick was out of Degrassi for what he did to Terry and all that. And that's obviously why they bullied him. They just wanted him out of Degrassi. Now, Rick had the right idea to stay and basically all the bullying and all that. But as someone did say in that Reddit post, the adults should have done something about it. But also, I mean, Rick could have done a lot more and all that. You know, I wouldn't say this was a stretch, but I think his mom basically kept trying to get Rick to talk about his feelings about coming back to Degrassi, and basically he, in his macho Camacho style, I like that macho Camacho thing, actually said that I gotta go through the lines and all that. Like, yeah, he could have done a whole lot. He could have been more honest towards his parents. He could have done better with Raditch. I mean, everyone criticizes Raditch for basically leaving Rick high and dry. But when you look at how Rick was talking to Raditch about that, he doesn't say the magic word's bullying. He's bothering him and he won't be my friend. And everyone thought that Raditch was just critical underthinking. But here's the thing. Rick never said the words bullying. Although Raditch could have probably have told Rick, you can tell me anything. Tell me something and all that. Like, is he bullying you? And if Rick said yes, then Raditch would have done something about it. But, Raditch basically came to the conclusion that all Rick was doing was asking Raditch to force Jimmy to be his friend and all that. And that fails miserably. I mean, Rick does get Jimmy to be his friend because he convinces Jimmy that that the torture he's facing is terrible, and Toby's going to get the brunt of it now. That basically they got a new target and all that. And I mean, okay, Rick got painted and feathered, and we obviously are going to sympathize with him. But the problem is he brought it onto himself by standing up to Spinner, Jay, and Alex in the hallway and then flashing the X sign. Like, fuck, you just convicted yourself. But it's a hard question. It's like, did Alex actually know Rick spray painted the cars, or she was just trying to make trouble for Rick and all that? That's the one thing that gets me going, is that did she have evidence that it was Rick before, Rick threw up the X in the hallway to them? Because if she was just trying to make trouble for Rick, things would have been different. I think she was trying to make trouble for Rick. I think. Because they were going to try to get Rick into trouble and all that. But how did Alex know? I'll have to read that in a Reddit post. But anyway, like, he was painted and feathered, and basically Emma tried to calm him down. Rick took it as a sign of good guy logic and kissed her, and basically was upset when Emma blew him off, saying that I was doing the right thing, get a clue. And then he looks for his parents, who are both gone. I mean, he knew his parents were gone. He knew his dad was away being a salesman, and his mom probably went to work. Why did he call out for them? And then he finds the gun, his dad's gun, which was easily accessible for some freaking reason, and then went to school in revenge. He wanted to shoot Paige because Paige was spreading false rumors about it. And I think in a way he was blaming Paige for why Emma didn't want to be around him, saying that she put false information in Emma's ear. But Paige thankfully calms him down, and somehow, in some way, he decides to go back to his locker to put away the gun and then wash himself up. He could have just went home with the paint and feathers and the gun, and nothing else would have happened. And then, of course, Spinner and Jay were trying to blame Jimmy. I think mostly because, Jay put the bug in Spinner's ear because he knew that Spinner was upset the fact that he actually told Jimmy everything, and that Raj wanted to see him for a talk. The problem with me is that, and also I keep thinking that there was another option, because they were upset that Jimmy actually switched sides, because Jimmy was a key ally in their group, and it was just down to 3 of them. And they were just trying to they were probably going to punish Jimmy for trying to get on their side. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that maybe they bullied Jimmy too for being part of Rick's social club and all that. But that also could be false, because they knew that, Emma and Toby Emma was part of the Wacky Brain team with Rick, Toby, and Jimmy. They would bully Emma. Now, the reason why they wouldn't touch Emma was because basically, that would have gone against cause. The cause was about domestic violence against women. If they wanted to plot revenge against Emma for protecting Rick, it would have been hypocritical, and basically they would have been in deep shit. So obviously they wouldn't go after Emma. Of course, Rick shoots Jimmy, believing Spinner and Jay's story, and then basically he wants to go after Emma because Emma spurned his kisses and all that. Sean does the right thing by trying to calm him down. That's what a police officer sometimes does. Some police officers do, anyway. Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, Rick chose to try to kill Emma. Sean shot Rick and all that. And I mean, in the aftermath, it's like, do you feel sympathetic about it? Toby illustrates this problem himself. I mean, with Toby. Because, I mean, he's not sure how to feel. His best friend got shot, but he also is a psycho who wanted to kill Emma. And, Toby had feelings for Emma. And I wish that Toby and Emma were a couple somehow. Would have been cute. More so. But regardless of the situation, you gotta realize that, Toby didn't know how to feel and all that. JT and Danny tore him to bits about it. But Manny chewed out JT, and JT basically apologized for everything. Realizing that maybe if JT was there for Toby, then Toby would not have been easily persuaded to be Rick's best friend. I mean, the way they present some people in the aftermath is that basically Rick's the good guy and all that. And a lot of the students and faculty stayed away from his visitation and funeral. I think because of their own guilt and all that. They didn't want to look guilty and all that. And methinks that Radich, even though he was there for Wheels when his adoptive parents died, and was there for Craig when his dad died, probably didn't go to the funeral. We don't know if he did or he didn't. It would have been nice to see if he went to the funeral or not. Because maybe he didn't go to the funeral because he was worried about how Rick's parents were going to approach him. And basically, Radich didn't have the answers. And Radich probably was worried about his own ego, which unfortunately was huge and part of an unpopular opinion. To me, it's not that easy. It's like they make the students out to be bad guys. And the zero tolerance policy was basically put in place. I don't know if it was for the school or for the district. But maybe it was basically a punishment for the Degrassi students because they basically screwed up. And they basically took matters in their own hands, and that's probably to punish them. And probably say that basically when you take matters in your own hands, you're going to have to pay the consequences and all that. But of course, this is 2004. Thinking has changed in 16 years. So, yeah. But I digress. The problem here is that Rick came back to Degrassi when the school didn't want him around. He could have bided his time in another school and then waited maybe in a year or 2 years to come back to Degrassi. Maybe after realizing that Paige and group graduated, that basically would have been back with open arms. I mean, yeah. That's the point. And the point is that basically he took it upon themselves. Maybe he was trying to, what is the verb? I think he was trying to goad people. Maybe Rick was trying to goad somebody into trying to destroy him so that someone will see him being destroyed and basically he'll get his own way. But it didn't work. Everyone turned the other cheek. Even Simpson admits he turned the other cheek when he should have been more caring towards Rick and all that. So basically, to summarize, Rick's plan basically put Paige's clique into a negative light. It made Spinner, Jay, and Alex basically into super villains, if you will. It made Emma basically a person that basically everyone hated on because of protecting Rick. It basically got Sean PTSD. He gave Toby PTSD. And unsure about how he would have been put in the Degrassi universe. His death probably would have had the students feel guilty about themselves, and especially the fact that it made Spinner basically do something he regretted, the paint and feathers and pinning things on Jimmy, and then him being expelled alongside Jay. And of course, that problem also led to the elimination of Radish from Degrassi, because I know the actor wanted to leave, but how he left, I think it could have been better. So anyway, yeah, I went off on a little bit of a tangent and all that, but should we sympathize with Rick? No. You can if you want, that's fine by me. But the guy brought a gun to the school. End of story. That's how I put it in the Reddit community, and that's the way I'm going to end this thing. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day.